Hello and welcome back. Let's see what is in the thread basket today. So we have this, we did this, and we did this little motif. So I'm wanting to switch from this flannel to this cotton to flannel and do all my squares like that. So I have this piece, and then I have some red, yellow, use this green, or this green. This one's a little too blue. Let's do this one. Okay, so I have these three and this, and again, I'm not using a hoop because I don't need a hoop. Let's find my little scissors. There they are. And let's see what we can make with this. I have some ideas. I have been wanting to do a strawberry. So I had these in my basket in hopes to do a strawberry. I just haven't done it yet. So I'll just do it on camera here with you. And now I don't want my thread too long, not sure how you can see it, because it tangles easier. When your thread is longer, I don't know if y'all knew this, but when your thread is longer, it tangles way easier. So that's one of the things, one of the little tips I have for you to keep your thread from tangling too much. Now I think, do I want to do the whole, wanting to do a satin stitch with you, and I'm wanting to show you how to get your satin stitches better. So I'm supposed to be separating my threads one by one because that really does help. It keeps it from your satin stitch from being twisted. You want a prettier, cleaner satin stitch. So that is one trick for you for a real pretty satin stitch, and I'll show you another trick as I go along. So let's separate these, and then let's put them back together to where they are side by side, and that does a prettier stitch. Now I've got to find a needle. That would help, wouldn't it? Okay, so I want to show you the start, how I like to start my stitches. Now, this could be knotted on the back because I'll be covering it, but I don't want to do that because in this video I really want to show you different ways of doing things. So usually I just start in the middle somewhere. And yes, I start on the top and I'll leave like a little tail here. And then I do a tiny little tacking stitch, like a little seed stitch almost. I call it a tack stitch because I'm tacking this down. And this will be covered up soon with my little satin stitches. Okay, so let's just kind of go around and make us an outline of a strawberry. And I'm just doing a simple little back stitch, running stitch, well, back stitch, because it's not a running stitch, it's not separated. Doing a quick little back stitch to make the outline. And I'll show you why the back stitch is important, and that's okay, it doesn't have to be exact. We'll make our strawberry and go around. And I don't know what it is about making strawberries, but now I'm craving strawberries. Okay, so here we have our basic outline. So for a satin stitch, what you want to do is you want to go over your outline and go straight down, making sure that's evenly across. So I just split between the two to make sure that stays straight. Now let's go over here and do the same thing. Be careful with your tension, you don't want that to pucker. And see how smooth that is. Let's see. So you want everything to basically stay in alignment for your strawberry. And you'll see the benefits here in a minute. So now I'm just going to fill in stitches. We are at the end here, and now what I'm doing is I'm filling it in from where I can still see fabric showing through, making sure this goes straight down in a straight line. It's these top stitches that are going to matter the most, because if I go over like this, that's going to show, so you don't want to do that. So I'm just making sure these are as straight as possible to get that pretty satin stitch, full satin stitch. So I'm kind of combing it. You can comb it with your needle here or your fingernail, just to make sure it's all uniform. And what I'll probably do, I'm at the end of my thread here, so let's tack it down in the middle because I don't like this area. I don't like this area right here. By separating your thread, you can tell your stitches are right on cue because at the end, they're still the same. You know how sometimes at the end, one string may be shorter than the other? Well, if you separate them from the beginning and keep them in a line and straight as possible, you won't have that issue. And I hope I left myself enough here to tack this down. And as you saw earlier, I tacked it down on the side because I wanted to show you, or I started it on the side, remember, and I cut it off because I wanted to show you that you could do it over there too. The only thing about that is that you have a string left hanging on the other side, which is not that big of a deal. Depending on what I use it for, a wall hanging or a quilt or a little fabric book or a little embroidery book that shows different little motifs you can do, or I can put them on cards. I mean, I have so many ideas for these. I may even make them into like little gift tags. I think that would be super cute. So you can paste them on a card or in a journal. Put them on a piece of cardstock. Excuse me. Put them on a piece of cardstock and make them into a little gift card. I love this little tack down method. To me, it's just a little bit quicker. And with satin stitch, you don't want a whole bunch of unnecessary little bumps and everything because your stitches won't lay, not flat, but your stitches won't lay right if you have a whole bunch of bumps and things. The trick is, and we're going to find this out soon, is putting the little seeds on this. That's going to be a trick, and I'll show you why. Okay, I have that tacked down enough, so let's trim this, and it'll be hidden with all these little satin stitches. So I want to finish this off and make it as clean as possible. Now let's start the seeds. And with the seeds, I think I'm going to use this all 6 strands. So with this, I want to start on the back and tack it down. And I'm just making sure I don't go all the way through. I'm just getting underneath the threads here and tacking it down underneath the threads on the top because I don't want it to show. And now I just have to make sure that it's caught onto itself. Okay, and then I'll clean those up in a minute. But now we start the seeds. So we're going to go up and we're going to try not to bend these too much, because if I take it over like that, see how that it moves my stitches too much. So we're going to make sure that they're combed down. And then we're just going to go right on the side and keep them pretty loose as you can. Okay, we're going to do that again. See how that sheen is? See that? You can really see the sheen when you keep your stitches, your threads as even as you can. Right on the other side. And like I said, keep it loose. Now let's go this way. And you don't want to pull too tight because you don't want to pucker the threads too much, like you see that kind of puckered them. You don't want to pucker them too much because you want it to still behave correctly. So it's really a trial and error type of thing. Okay, let's do a couple more. Okay, I wanted that a little bit tighter. But not too tight. Okay, and then we've got a few more. Ooh, looks like the sun's coming out. Did y'all see that? So see, the strawberries coming along really good. And I just kind of like to step back and see where it may need another stitch or another seed. There we go. Let's do a teeny tiny one here. And then I'll be satisfied. See, I pulled it too tight and it gets hidden under the... That's why I said you don't want to pull these too tight on top of a satin stitch. And then come back here and just make sure those are still popping up on the top. And then let's go for our green here. And let's see, what the start of my thread is. This is, oh, by the way, color is 580. This green is 580. And this is 666. And this is 726. DMC. Okay, I think I've got, yeah. This is where I just have one thread, which is fine. No, you know what? Let's do this one really thick. Let's do the leaves thicker. So let's start, well, first let's tack this down. Little tiny stitches, especially when they're real thick like this. You want to do it as tiny as possible because you don't want to really create too big of a bump. Otherwise, you're defeating the purpose of making a knot. You don't want to make a knot. So I usually just do like a little tiny cross there. Okay, so let's start forming our leaf. So I'm crossing over. Going back over here. And crossing over. Going back over here. So I guess we're kind of doing a weave effect, a weave leaf. Let's see. But do you see what I'm doing? I hope you can see this. I'm just going down and weaving them through. And that'll give it some interesting texture because strawberry leaves have kind of that, they have a lot of texture to them if you ever noticed a strawberry leaf. And that's what I'm trying to form here. And I'm going to do this all the way down to the actual strawberry. And I love doing leaves like this because as you can see how that's, you're weaving, but see how chunky and full it's getting? And it creates the little veins and stuff in your leaf. And it does it just on its own, really. As you just keep weaving, it just kind of forms that. Okay. Let's do a few more here. Wanting to kind of end the leaf down to the strawberry. And that kind of rounds it off there real nicely. Now let's have another one. And let's start, let's see, let's go this way real quick. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? Creating kind of a stem, sort of, kind of. And then I'm going to go start crossing over. Actually, I know I want my leaf this wide. So let's start crossing over, but keeping the point up there. So we're going to do this all over again. Crisscrossing the leaf. And then let's put on some music. Now I'm going to show you another way to start your thread without using a knot. So you bend your thread in half. You usually have to have you have to have an even number. I mean, there's a way you can do it without. I have a short on that if you want to look in my stitching library. But you want to make a loop on this side. So what we're going to do, I want to clean up the edges, and you can start from the top or bottom. And you're going to leave that loop out just enough. And you're going to come up right next to the side of it in the middle of the loop. And pull it, okay? And that's all there is to that. And then you just start stitching around. Now I don't want to have sharp corners. Okay? So you see that? I don't want that sharp corner. So I'm going to split this stitch, this previous stitch, and force it to become round. Okay? Let's do that again. This is called the split stitch for those of you who are beginners. You split it, and that makes it more even. Okay, it keeps it from having those little breaks. You want it to look like one long line. And that's how you do it with the split stitch. Okay, we're at the end of our strawberry. Now just take this, like I said, and use your little comb if you care about it being super neat. Make sure your seeds are showing. Pull those up a little bit. Be careful not to grab the red thread underneath. And there's your little strawberry. So I think doing the outlining it one more time gives it a neater look, but look how puffy it is. Isn't that cute? So there you have it. I hope this tutorial helped. Thanks for watching.